because I don't want to go backwards. I want to keep going forward. Together, that's exactly where we're going to go. God bless.
I'm Steve Walters.
And I'm J.R. Ross.
This is Rewind, Wisconsin Eye Week in Review. Okay, we've been talking about Senator Gudex. We've been getting the same, I've got some other offers. He refuses to say yes. This week he says no. In the 18th Senate District, first term Republican. Big break for the Democrats or no?
Well, it depends. There are a couple of things there. First, look at the district on the numbers. Other than Jessica King in 2011 it was, when she beat Hopper.
Randy Hopper.
Who had some personal baggage in that race, if you will.
Yes, he did.
Only time Democrats held it since 1933, 35, somewhere around there.
Because before that it was Carol Ressler.
Yep.
And before that it was another Republican.
Oh, it's gone back for years. Now, the thing though is that district has been very close both in 8 and 12. Now, in that environment, remember Obama won in 8 by 14 points in Wisconsin and by 7 in 12. So if you have another close presidential race, maybe that is enough to make that Senate race close. The flip side is, in off years, it's not very close at all. So it's kind of more of a Republicanish district, but you Democrats have an opportunity. The question is, can you capitalize? With Gudex, you were going to have this issue about right to work, because he voted for that. The Bucks Arena, he's also been a big backer of Weedick. Now, prevailing wage is an interesting one. He voted against the amendment to add it to the budget, but voted for the budget with prevailing wage in the end. So there are a lot of hard hats up there, a lot of contractors up there. That could have been an issue that there with other prisons, other union presence.
It's #1 of all Senate districts for prison guards.
Add in UW Oshkosh, if you can capitalize like the turnout of all these constituencies, you've got a real shot if you're a Democrat. Now they got Mark Harris, who's running Winnebago County Exec. He's got good name ID in Winnebago County. You also have Fond du Lac. It's kind of like a yin and yang district. You have a pretty decent Democratic district up here in Winnebago County, pretty Republican ones down here in Fond du Lac. So can you bridge that gap, if you will?
Well, what about, okay, the first one out, it was obviously a tandem announcement. #1, you know, at 9 o'clock, Gudex says, I'm not running, and then at 9:02, Fond du Lac chair and 6th District Republican chair Dan Fein says, I'm running. Well, do you expect the fact that it's an open seat to draw a long list of Republicans?
Fitzgerald, Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald kind of hinted other Republicans are just looking at it, that he talked with others. Now, you always go to the sitting assembly members in any district like that. Jeremy Thiesfeld said, no, I'm not up to, it's not a challenge I want to take on right now because of responsibility, because of what I've got going on. Michael Schra from Oshkosh, another Republican, said he's all but
joined
ruled
finance?
it out. In part because of that. He's on finance. Freshmen usually don't make it on finance, Howard Markline notwithstanding. So if Schra were to run for the Senate and win it, he'd probably lose a seat on finance and not be a Senate member. It's kind of tough to give up that gig. It's pretty sweet. So Schra's all but ruled it out. Other Republicans, though, may kick the tires before it's all said and done on that race.
Have you heard any other names?
Not yet.
Okay.
So, but I would expect that if you look at the map overall next year, that is the most competitive seat by far, or best pickup opportunity for Democrats. Beyond that, you kind of get a little bit less competitive. They lean one way or the other. I mean, like Luther Olson's seat is kind of like the next closest, if you will, in terms of top of the ticket.
He survived a recall?
But Luther Olson survived the recall. He also outperforms top of the ticket. He's been very popular personally. If you're Luther, you're worried more about a primary challenge because the perception that you're kind of a moderate than you are about a general election. And there aren't that many great pickup opportunities for either side next year, really. So it may be a limited show, if you will, in the Senate.
But it's an open seat. So here's my question. State Democratic Chair Martha Lanning, does she want nobody else to challenge Mark Harris? Or
Good question. You know, he's a good candidate in that he's got name ID because he ran for the 6th Congressional District and lost. But still, good name ID. Winnebago County, good name ID. So he's got some inherent benefits, if you will. So I don't know if you really care. I mean, I don't know if it matters to them either way. I think they've got a good candidate. In their minds, they've got a good candidate for that seat right now. The other thing is for Republicans, so Gudex had that baggage of, you know, right to work, prevailing wage, but you don't have that if you're a Republican running because you weren't in the legislature.
Yep.
But to win a primary, you're probably going to have to be a pro right to work kind of person, or a, you know, so that I'm not sure that issue goes away for sure, but it's not as prominent because Gudex is not running.
Okay, but let's talk about Gudex a little bit. He didn't strike me as he didn't go out of his way to be the most high-profile senator. I mean, sure, he was Senate President pro tem, but he didn't play a key role in a lot of things. He came in, he voted for the new mining bill.
Yep.
Was he not comfortable being a senator?
Certain people come from the private sector, the Capitol, and don't find it be the most fun place to be. They prefer the private sector because usually it pays better. There are a little bit fewer responsibilities on the weekends and nights, and all the other things. I get the impression that Senator Gudex didn't really embrace the Senate lifestyle and say, this is what I really want to do. I really want to be a state. I have to be a state senator. That was a little bit less of a life goal for him, as you will, compared to other people.
Right, and he said, he told me I got an offer I can't refuse to go back to my old employer, Brenner Tank.
Yeah.
So, okay, but it's the first real glimmer of hope for the Dems as we set up the
It's
2016
probably,
election.
if they're looking to retake the Senate, it is probably a 2-cycle at best process for them to take back the Senate. Barring a wave. Now, if there's a wave next year, all bets are off. But right now, probably a 2-cycle process if that's their, to make it within reach.
Okay, but I want to circle back to the point you made earlier. So many more Democrats come out in presidential election years, makes this district potentially very, very competitive.
Yes.
It's no surprise, but the 4 justices on the 4-justice majority of the state Supreme Court said, what about not reopening our July decision on John Doe? Don't you understand, Mr. Schmitz, Mr. Chisholm et al.? No big surprise there?
No, what was interesting with the decision, well, a couple of things. One, that they didn't reconsider is not a shock. I don't know if I can remember any time the court has reconsidered a decision like, what, 4 or 5 months later said, yeah, you're right, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
2, Justice Prosser, in his concurring opinion back in July, basically made the argument that Francis Schmidt, special prosecutor, his appointment was invalid, that it wasn't proper. The court, though, didn't like issue an order, if you will, in that July decision. What they did this week was they came back and said, okay, we're taking up on Prosser's argument, and we're all getting behind it, i.e. the 4 conservatives, and saying your appointment is invalid. You have no more authority to act as special prosecutor other than these limited responsibilities, which include returning the evidence, the hard drives, et cetera, to people who are targeted, gathering up all the evidence that you guys have, and then preparing it to be filed under seal with the clerks. That's preserved, but it's not in your hands anymore. And that's it. So that was kind of a new twist, if you will, to what they had done back in the summer.
So they did clarify, first of all, they said, we are not going to reconsider our July decision, but there's a few maintenance chores that have to be done. Next step, Schmitz has said, I'm going to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. What is he going to allege, JR? Well, okay, let's say it's not Mr. Schmitz, it's going to be...
Well, that's what I was going to say. The first question is, who can appeal? Because Schmitz has been saying for a while, or indicating for a while, that he plans to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. He could, for example, make an argument that Justices Gableman and Prosser, among others, should not have heard the case. The U.S. Supreme Court has issued a ruling in a West Virginia case about basically the line you have to step off a case. He could make a case, or try to, that the U.S. Supreme Court, these guys violated your standard. There's one possibility.
Yeah.
But if you look at the decision, the justices kind of make clear, at least it seems clear to those of us who don't, without law degrees, they're saying, Schmitz, you're not the one going to handle this appeal. We know there's an appeal that's planned to the U.S. Supreme Court. If the other DAs, remember this originally was 5 DAs were part of this John Doe 2, then got behind the single special prosecutor. If you guys want to intervene and pick up the baton, we'll quickly hear a motion to intervene, which was kind of like a wink at probably John Chisholm, if you will, Milwaukee County, because he was, from the start with this whole thing.
Yeah, he was the lead DA.
But Schmitz is saying, if I have the resources, I'm going to go to the Supreme Court. I plan to appeal. The citizens of Wisconsin have a right to know A, B, well, how's he? I'm not a lawyer again, but where does he get the authority to do that? The State Supreme Court is saying, well, you're done, and that's it.
Okay,
so
but the bottom line is somebody's going to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to take jurisdiction.
Likely.
Okay, now let's say, for the record, neither of us are both lawyers, but what's your gut tell you? Supremes take this? And if so, why?
I don't know. There's so few cases are taken. I don't know there's a great chance. I'm trying to think of reasons that they might take this case. Maybe because of the Caperton standard about when you should step off. Maybe because it deals with coordination on issue advocacy, which would be maybe a new issue for them to deal with. I just don't know, not being a lawyer, what would be a ripe issue, if you will, to take up that would, again, they take a fraction of a % of cases asked at the Supreme Court. I don't think it's a great chance.
It's a long shot.
Yes, at the very least.
And so let's just, the 4 justices that refused to reconsider, Chief Justice Roggensack, Ziegler, Gableman, and Prosser.
Yes.
Justice Shirley Abramson dissented
in
the decision.
It was interesting. She concurred that this was a wreck.
Yes.
Concurred this thing was a mess and should be rewritten. But otherwise, she dissented in the rest of it.
Yes.
Which is kind of an interesting line, if you will, from her.
Justice Ann Walsh Bradley got off the case, and Justice
Crooks passed away while it's still being final considerations.
Right.
And Bradley, the new Justice Bradley, Rebecca Bradley, did not participate because she was new to new to the court, if you will, came on board after it begun.
Okay. Well, this is the summary that we have to provide because there's like all these different levels of John Doe and 2 unnamed defendants, and it makes our heads explode.
Yes.
It does. Okay, which is time for a new subject. Charlie Sykes says occasionally we get it right and perform flagrant acts of journalism. I think the State Journal committed a flagrant act of journalism. They asked the Department of Workforce Development this little notice provision in the 2013 budget saying you have to work 80 hours a week or seek work to continue to get what used to be called food stamps. Now it's called food share. In the quarter, July to September, the records given to the State Journal showed 15,000 childless adults were given the boot. I think that's a newsworthy story. What do you think,
And another
JR?
4,500 found work.
Found work.
So
right.
for Democrats, this is an example of Republicans trying to push people off of social programs and this cold-hearted approach. For Republicans, it's the, well, we should get people off of welfare. We should get them into a job and get them on their own feet.
Right.
Governor Walker talked about this a lot in the campaign trail for president. You know, the success of a program is not how many people are on the rolls, but how many people get off and go into the private sector.
Right.
A hand up, not a handout. And it's one of many, quite frankly, efforts that Republicans have put forth in the last 4 years to try to, I don't necessarily make it more difficult to get food stamps, but have more requirements of you. For example, they're in federal court right now trying to get approval from a judge, an order from a judge saying, yes, you can screen and drug test able-bodied adults on food shares, because the budget included provision, provision to do that, but the feds have indicated before that may not fly. So rather than go through the process of applying and asking for permission, the state just said, okay, we're going to go to federal court and sue you guys, essentially. So there's that going on.
And the Obama administration just filed a
motion saying, look, they
get rid of it. Make it go away.
They need to go through the administrative process
It's
first.
premature.
It's premature. You have bills about limiting what you can buy with food stamps, purging excess dollars or leftover dollars at the end of the year. You have unemployment stuff where people are Republicans saying, look, if you mislead us on your application for unemployment, you should be barred for a number of years. All these new restrictions, because Republicans saying we should be going after fraud and cutting back on these things. And Democrats are saying, wait, you're going to spend how many millions of dollars to do what? To put a picture on a food shares card that nobody's going to be able to look at?
It was $7 million over two years.
But it's all about this philosophy from Republicans of we need to kind of clamp down, if you will, and expect more people who are getting these benefits. And so there's that conflict going on.
15,000 childless adults removed from the food share program in 1 quarter. Are those 15,000 Democratic votes next year, JR?
Maybe, but Republicans would argue that, look, the average person in Wisconsin who has to go to work every day to earn their paycheck to have to buy food is not going to be offended by requiring others to get, some at least go to job training. Just go to job training before the year. So I mean, to them it's a winning issue.
Yeah, yeah. Also last week at a healthcare exchange, it was a pretty interesting exchange between Kathleen Falk, who's the regional representative of the Department of Health and Human Services, and Republican Representative Joe Sanfilippo, who's the chair of the Assembly Health Committee. We go back to the Affordable Care Act. Remember that? It's still out there. Let's listen to Kathleen Falk defend it and Representative Sanfilippo say maybe this is still a bad idea.
We're now seeing the lowest increases in healthcare spending in 4 decades, so that jury is out. Do we have more problems to solve? Of course. Do we need to improve things? Absolutely. Is it a work in progress? You bet. But the general direction of where the health care industry is going and what we need to do to have healthy people, we are on that right track. By expanding Medicaid, you just can make the difference in another tens of thousands of lives. It's the right thing to do for people, and it's the right thing to do for Wisconsin taxpayers, and it's not too late.
If you take a look at the states that have decided to do the expansion, they are struggling under the weight of the cost of it. Kentucky is spending $1.58 for every dollar they take in. I mean, those are not sustainable programs in the long run. We would be in much worse position if we had taken the Medicaid expansion than we have now. People who have had insurance before the Affordable Care Act are finding their insurance to be much more costly now. So it's really just driven up the cost for them, and I think that's why you have some of this pushback. It's nice to say that everybody should be covered in that we can do it, but I think the program has proven that it is a failure.
So JR, here's my question. Is health care going to remain one of the central topics in the 2016 election?
just look last night. U.S. Senate voted along party lines largely to basically repeal the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare.
Right.
Ron Johnson voted for the repeal, Kim Baldwin against. Obviously going to be vetoed by the president, but that issue is not going to go away. You look at poll after poll, shows that people like the idea of expanding Medicaid to cover more people. But if you look back at 2014, WMC in particular did a pretty interesting twist on that, knowing that it's a popular thing to ask people, would you like to expand Medicaid, take that federal money to cover more people, turned it around in a number of ads against Democrats saying they favored an expansion of Obamacare, because Obamacare has become like the boogeyman word, if you will. So they use that against Democrats, and so I think it'll be an issue again, especially in some key races. Look at polls, it's not horribly unpopular in Wisconsin, but it's not popular. I mean, it's like a 46% type issue, if you will. Motivates the base. So yeah, I think it's going to stick around for a while.
Well, but X number of thousands of Wisconsin residents have got insurance as a result of Obamacare. So those are some potential voters. But so it's still going to be part not only of the national campaign, but of their state campaigns, right?
Oh yeah.
Because the Democrats are going to say you're turning down $368 million
yes.
by not expanding MA.
And the Republicans are going to say that money's not reliable and that look at the problems in states A, B, and C and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, it's not going to go anytime soon.
Okay. Okay. Next subject. JR, I've been doing some reporting on what I think is an interesting story. Last year, the issue is the unemployment insurance system. Remember, we have swung from deficits of $1.3 billion down to balances of $1.8 million up since 2000. So I said, okay, interviewed the Secretary of DWD, and he said, yes, employers are going to save some more money next year. But when you look at it, employers covered by the U of I system are going to save $214 million. They're paying $1 billion and $30 million this year, and they're going to pay $816 next year. That's a 20% cut. Nobody's talking about this. Isn't this an issue that Democrats could embrace? I asked Finance member Representative Chris Taylor if she wanted to say anything. She said no, but couldn't Democrats argue that saving businesses $214 million would give them enough money to raise the minimum wage or to raise the $360 unemployment?
Oh, they can make that argument, but Republicans aren't going to go along with it because they're going to argue that the businesses were socked with this higher tax because unemployment insurance is a tax on businesses to keep the fund flush. That it was a tax, and now they're getting a tax break because they paid more than they should have in past years. You know, I mean, the minimum wage debate is not going to go away, but it's also not going to be resolved anytime soon. Unless you have one-party control of everything, it's not going to change because Republicans vehemently disagree with raising minimum wage, saying that's a cost on business, it'll make jobs go away. Democrats say you should make a living wage, or you should make $10 an hour. If you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to afford to provide the basics for your family. That hasn't changed in, what, 4 or 5 years now? That debate's been going on without any resolve coming up.
The last report filed by DWD with the legislature said, given the boom or bust cycle, you know, we've been as much as 1.8 million up and 1.3 billion down. One way to do this is to smooth it out and build up a U of I trust fund balance of 1.6 billion, which would allow us to ride out the next recession. Nobody in the Capitol is interested in that, right?
No.
No?
No. Republicans requiring business to pay a higher tax just to give government more money, no. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
Okay. Well,
that's my prediction.
Okay, probably a very valid prediction. Okay, let's go into stock reports because I want to talk about those a little bit. Rising.
Property taxes. So a little notice memo from Fiscal Bureau.
Issued November 19th. Go ahead.
Before Thanksgiving. Back in July, they predicted that property taxes would go down by $1 on the average home, which is not much. It's actually going to go up by $16. Now, it's not a big bump, right? I mean, let's go back 20 years. We've seen much bigger increases in property taxes. But one of Governor Walker's favorite lines of campaign trail for president was, in Wisconsin, your property taxes have been lower each year. They'll be lower in 2016 than they were when I took office. Now, even with this increase, they'll still be lower in 16 than they were in 10 before I took office, but a little less room, you know, to make that claim. And what else is going on, talking to Fiscal Bureau, is that levies for schools and tech colleges came higher than expected. Now, there could be a couple of things. There have been a number of referendums, for example, around the state, where you're seeing local communities chafe at the amount of aid and the restrictions from the state and approve more spending. That's going on. You're seeing districts start complaining about the choice program because the new formula member takes your aid, follows the kid, and can backfill with property taxes. Say, look, our kids, X number of kids are going to the choice program, the voucher program, so we got to backfill taxes. We have to do this. Or cut programs for other kids. The choice folks say that's not fair because you look at open enrollment, the same thing happens. So you're seeing all these kind of issues start to kind of intertwine into the property tax debate again. So it's one of the hated taxes in Wisconsin, but it's going up just a little bit in an average home next year.
Polls show that it's obviously referred to, often referred to as a number one. I just want to do a PS on that. So let's talk about the numbers. The median valued home will get a net tax bill after the credits of $2,847. What's the median valued home assessed at? $152,719. Nowhere near as much as prior to the Great Recession, but as you just said.
And that home is, I mean, the experience is going to be all over the map for individuals because folks live in homes more expensive than that one and less expensive. The school districts, the tech colleges, so that's the mythical home, if you will, in Wisconsin. But it's going to be a different experience for folks. Yeah,
and just a PS, first of all, Todd Berry of Taxpayers Alliance says there is no median valued home, there's no average home. It drives him crazy. But for purposes of analysis, the tax bill on that median home is going to go up $16. But as you said, 5 years ago, it went down 116 compared to where it is now. So over the 5 years, the governor can still make the point. And but his presidential campaign promise for the 5th straight year, property taxes are going to go down on Wisconsin homes, ain't technically true.
And he likes to also show the graph of the projection they were on before he took office. Now, I'm not saying that those were sustainable increases, but they were going up at a much higher rate than what you're definitely down for.
Walker spokesman Laurel Patrick told me before the governor took office, going back to that rocket ship, 27% increase in property taxes. Okay, we've done enough with rising mixed.
Tom Barrett. So
he just announced for a 4th term.
Announces, and interestingly, I mean, the mayor is vulnerable on a couple of things, including public safety. I mean, homicides have spiked in Milwaukee, shootings are up, but there's not a great candidate right now to kind of take advantage of that vulnerability. Sheriff Clark, who, you talk to people around Madison, they debate whether he would have been an effective opponent for Mayor Barrett. Told
you
Jay
say
Weber,
that in the past tense. Has he ruled it out?
Told Jay Weber this week he's not going to run. He's not interested in anything else in 2016. Has other interests right now. So you're left with a couple of alders who are not going to raise as much money as Mayor Barrett has been able to. A few other, I think like maybe 6 people right now registered so far, but there's not a great vehicle for the public to kind of act out this angst about public safety, other issues. The criticism of Mayor Barrett has been he's focused on downtown, his streetcar, the high rises, not the outer neighborhoods where there's a safety issue. He's going to make the argument, look, we've got billions of dollars of investment in the city going on. All these expansions downtown are good for the neighborhoods because they widen the tax base. They bring in better jobs for people living out. So we got good things going on. But again, who's going to challenge him at this point and be able to match him? He had $635,000 in change roughly end of June. He's got a $1 million campaign fund, come this spring. So he's in decent position, but he's got some issues to worry about.
So you've got him as mixed because sure he's the incumbent, but as of yet,
he's not a strong one right now for a couple of reasons. If they had a really good candidate, they could maybe have a good run at him, if you will.
Okay, that's the reason he's mixed.
And let's face it, Milwaukee politics, mayors don't lose very often in Milwaukee, if
that's
ever.
True.
So
it's an April election. Falling.
Francis Schmitz.
Special prosecutor of the Doe, now unemployed. I mean, terminated.
So we talked about this a little bit, the question of can he continue, what could he do? And if you talk to conservatives, they are like, outraged this guy has the gall, if you will, to say, well, I'm going to keep pursuing this. They think he has an agenda. Now, they've been arguing for a while that the entire Doe process has been an agenda to go after Scott Walker conservatives, but here's a guy who now is kind of like this lone gun saying, I'm going to take these guys on and fight the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, how? Where do you get the money? Where do you get the authority to do that? What happens, again, not being a lawyer, if he does file an appeal, the state Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that. And when I talked to him this week, he said, well, it'd be odd for the state Supreme Court to tell me what I can and can't do with an appeal. And oh, by the way, with the U.S. Supreme Court, you have to have standing to sue. You have to have a controversy and standing to sue. Right. Well, the courts say, well, you don't have any standing because they basically fired you. So what's going on here? So and all the resources they put in that investigation, all for naught. I mean, that's kind of a reaffirmation, yet again, that John Doe 2 is dead.
And State Journal reported that the state has, we taxpayers have paid $1.2 million in legal fees as a result of that.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting. But on the day that the Supreme Court said, we're not reconsidering our July decision, Speaker Voss put out a newsletter. You probably saw it, 3 words, it's finally over. Okay. I have a trivia question of the week. Paul Ryan is issuing more press releases than ever as the new Speaker of the U.S. House. One of them talked about the lighting of the Capitol Christmas tree. Do you know what point he made? No, you look baffled.
No.
Ready? First time in American history that a speaker with a beard was there. How's that for trivia, my friend?
Well, he's talking about the last one with the beard was 100 some years ago.
Yeah, but apparently didn't preside over the lighting of the Capitol Christmas tree.
So, I mean, he's being the communicator, right? The great communicator for the Republican Party.
He's filling all of our emails with all speeches and everything.
Because he said, I'm not going to campaign, I'm not going to fundraise constantly, I'm not going to be in every district every weekend. I am going to be home, see my kids, but I'm going to communicate the message along the way.
Yeah,
He's doing that so far.
And his major speech yesterday, he said, we're going to offer a bill that repeals every word of Obamacare. So really interesting. Next week, one of the many things we'll talk about is Tim Cullen's book. Deal?
Okay, deal.
I'm Steve Walders.
And I'm J.R. Ross.
And that's Rewind for this week.